Hi there, wig lovers. This video is a love letter to curly girls everywhere. Shout out to you. This is tea time with Heather from HairKittyKitty.com, and today I am drinking Harney & Sons Victorian London Fog with a little bit of cream and Splenda. So this particular video was inspired by a friend of mine who helped me with my website. Delightful, non-binary person, really smart, Gen Z, as you can probably imagine, really savvy, sensitive, thoughtful person. I have a ton of really wonderful things to say about this person. Beautiful soul inside and out. But even beautiful souls can say things once in a while that are a little insensitive. And to this person's great credit, when I actually brought this to their attention, they actually were receptive to the message, and we had a really fun conversation about it that I wanted to share with you. I'm not naming this person's name because this is not meant to be like a passive-aggressive jab. If anything, I was impressed by how this person handled it. So just shout out, incognito to that person. So anyway, as you probably know, on HairKittyKitty.com, we have this feature where you can sort by curl type. To me, this was very important because, as you can see, this is my natural curl pattern, and I have a lot to say about it, and I'll probably get to that later on in this particular video, but let me get through the story first. I've had to deal with this hair my whole life, but it's very, very curly, and the longer it gets, the kinkier it becomes. So it doesn't actually ever really grow past my shoulders. It just kind of progressively gets tighter and tighter and harder to manage, and up here it just kind of frizzes out and gets gross. There's no hope of running a comb or a brush through it. We'll just put it that way. I spent most of my childhood combing my hair with a pick, and a lot of women of color probably know that story, but there are a lot of Caucasian ladies like myself who can also commiserate. So just shout out to all y'all curly girls, because the struggle is real in that regard. This wonderful Zoomer, non-binary person, they were very reluctant to put the tags into the product listings that they were helping me make that identified the curl type. And when I asked them why, their answer was, because I am a white woman, and they didn't feel it was appropriate for me to be pandering to women of color. And I said, well, what makes you think that that's what I'm doing? And of course I was wearing a wig at the time, so I don't think that this person realized that this is what I had underneath the hood. And so, they gave me a very politically correct answer, a very, at this point it's cliche to use this in the pejorative, but it was frankly a very woke, trite, phoned in kind of answer. An answer that I think they felt compelled to give me, almost like they were obligated to say it. And that prompted me to literally take my wig off and show them, curls are not an exclusively woman of color concept. It's something that, kind of transcends racial boundaries. It's something that, is possible no matter who you are. And, me selling wigs, I fight that battle every day, because I'm confronted by folks who think that, how dare I model wigs because I'm not a woman of color, and don't I know that only women of color wear wigs? And I'm like, do you want to go out in public like this? Do you want to go out in public like this? I rest my case. But it's like, until people see it and understand that their assumptions of these rigid boundaries aren't real, that they're just, artifacts of the fictions we tell each other on social media so that we can fit very neatly into binary categories of us versus them. A lot of life just doesn't fit into those narratives in reality. That's why it's helpful to go touch grass once in a while and actually go out and talk to actual people in real life, hear about their actual lived experiences in real life coming out of their mouths, and not just what they're saying on social media. because frankly, it's very, very hard in this day and age for people to realize that the bubbles they're siloed into by these algorithms are not an accurate reflection of other people. It's not us versus them. The whole world isn't all game theory. And I think that is something that people who are chronically online have a very difficult time with. And as you've probably noticed, like I have, people who are younger tend to spend a lot of time online. So they fall into that trap a lot more easily of thinking of the world in terms of these very, very rigid binary definitions of us versus them. And if you're not with me, you're against me. And I had to literally take my wig off to show this person that was my friend that no, this isn't bigotry, that I want to show, people how to find wigs with the curl type that makes them feel comfortable. Because, what if I went looking for a curly wig? Here's something that a lot of women of color may not even realize. And if you are one, please let me know in the comments if you've noticed this. But there aren't that many really curly wigs out there for white ladies, right? Like if I wanted to buy a lace front wig, I would struggle to find one with this kind of curl pattern, but cuter. One that didn't have all this mess on top and was actually like nice and full. If I actually wanted to buy something that looked like my bio hair, I would struggle to find it in white lady hair. And I would need to resort to buying it from, a black beauty supply store where the lace is going to be so dark that I'm better off not buying it with lace at all. Now, luckily, some of the progress is happening faster on the black beauty supply store side of things, right? Like there are companies like Bobbi Boss that are inventing like, transparent lace that melts, the melted hairline, that sort of thing that works with all skin types, or, at least some lighter ones. But a lot of the lace is still too dark for someone like me. I'm not going to be able to get away with, Beyonce colored cafe au lait lace front without cutting it all the way down to the point where it's right up against my hairline. The wig sisters know what I'm talking about. This is hard to pull off. And then you usually have to wear a ton of makeup, put foundation on your lace and stuff like that to get it to blend well. And I just can't be bothered, right? So a lot of the time I just buy wigs that are straight. I make a lot of wigs that are straight because frankly, that's what most Caucasian ladies want are straight wigs. And when I make curly ones, I hope that they do well, but it's kind of a niche audience because there's still this perception that, we all want poker straight hair. And I felt that pressure to have poker straight hair my entire life. And it's just not happening. When I was younger, I actually resorted to using relaxer on my hair once just to see what would happen. And it broke off. It became so brittle because, when your hair's really curly, regardless of your ethnicity, if you've got a really tight curl pattern, your hair becomes very brittle. And it makes sense if you think about it in terms of microscopics, right? Like straight hair is circular. It's got a really wide axis and it's stronger because of that. The curlier your hair is, the flatter the strand gets. And that, adds more points for breakage. It makes it easier for proteins and stuff to leach out of the hair. And then of course, if you chemically relax it or do anything to it, if you dye it, or anything like that, that makes it weaker. And there's only so much you can do to fortify that with products after the fact, because the truth of the matter is that straight hair is stronger. It's just stronger. It is. And so when companies source hair for wigs, they typically like to source it from Asia and stuff like that because the hair tends to be rounder, thicker, stronger, less prone to breakage. It's a little harder to dye, but it's also a little bit more durable, so it can get through the processing. Really kinky, curly hair just isn't well suited for that because it's so prone to breakage. Now, I'm preaching to the converted. If you are someone who actually has curly hair naturally, you already know probably everything that I just said in the last 30 seconds. But that was just for all the folks who have the good hair or, had good hair before it fell out. Because, most of my audience is struggling with this stuff like I am. And in full disclosure, I usually shave all my hair off. I've just been kind of inspired to let my hair grow lately to kind of reconnect with myself and to kind of understand my own hair, to make peace with it a little bit more, because psychologically, and particularly pre-COVID, and I'm going to try not to get too deep with this, but I'm going to take a swig of this tea to figure out how to say this. I just hated my hair so much that I just had a lot of negative feelings about it. And it got worse, of course, the more it became hormonally influenced, the more that it began to fall out. Because as you can probably see even here, that down here, it's almost cute. It almost looks like a perm, that's a cute curl. I'm sure back in the 80s, people would have paid good money for that kind of curl, I guess. But up here, it doesn't mirror that. And the reason why it doesn't mirror that is because of the kind of alopecia I have. I have PCOS and androgenic alopecia. And so up here is where my scalp is the most hormonally responsive. And so this is the hair that's the most heavily impacted by my androgen imbalance that comes as part of the package of PCOS. So this is the effect of hormones, specifically too much testosterone, on what little hair remains up here. Because you can see that there, I've had profound thinning up here. And this is very dry. It's very brittle. And if I use conditioner on it, like I used Carol's Daughter Black Vanilla, which is fantastic for curly hair. Probably the best conditioner I've ever used for curly hair. They're not paying me to say that. It's really good for that. And it's made for curly hair, and it shows, because look how cute this is down here, but no amount of conditioner is going to fix this, because if I put really slick, waxy conditioner up here just to tame all this frizz, it will turn into a helmet on top of my head. It will just kind of shellac it into submission, and then my hair will look even thinner. So there's no winning when you have this combination of issues going on. And so as this situation progressed, I grew to really resent my hair and to hate it. And wearing wigs to cover it up it allowed me to dodge dealing with those emotions a little bit. I mean, if I'm being honest, it gave me the ability to camouflage, so I didn't have to go out in public and then explain why I like to stick my finger in light sockets for fun, which I don't, but you know what I mean? Like, it looks like that. I don't want to have to explain why my hair is so thin. I don't want to explain. So, I mean, wearing the wigs gives me the ability to not have to explain that stuff. I will look more professional. I will look more put together, because of this situation, very quickly, this can turn into, I look like I don't care about my appearance. I don't look, people make a bunch of assumptions. Those assumptions are unfair, but it happens. We're social creatures, and people are prone to just snap judgment. And I guess that brings me full circle to what I started this video talking about, is that even people who are trying very hard to kill their subconscious bias, who are trying to be more thoughtful and considerate, like that non-binary person that I mentioned. I almost said folks, but it's not plural. You know what I mean? Like, that person was very caring, thoughtful, and considerate, but was still short-sighted because they hadn't thought critically about that narrative before they just parroted back the talking point. And in doing so, literally marginalized me, because they don't realize what a minority white women with curls are among all curly haired people on the planet, and the fact that, we wear wigs is real. We are a minority in that regard, which is why it's so hard to find curly haired wigs with white lace. Hopefully that's changing, and I hope to do that with my own wigs, but I need to make sure that there's actually an audience there before I commit to making those kinds of products. And because most white women like straight hair or things that are just a little wavy, because even most of the curly wigs in the white lady space, they're just wavy. There's a phenomenal difference between a wave and a curl. This is a curl. There's no running a comb through this at all, even a wide tooth one. Maybe when it's wet, but even then that's kind of fraught, because the hair is more prone to breakage when it's wet. And so you got to be careful. You got to pick and choose your battles when you're a curly girl naturally. So I think that this is a great place to stop. I'm super curious to know your opinion. If you've got straight hair, I want to hear it. If you've got curly hair and you're a white lady like me, I want to hear it. And frankly, if you're a woman of color and you want to add your perspective, please know that that is valued here too. And please don't attack the person that I mentioned, even in the comments, just, ambiguously, because they were very well intentioned. And as I mentioned, they were very receptive to what I was saying when I actually proved the point. But I shouldn't have had to, because people should not assume that everything can be neatly divided into us versus them categories. And me having curly hair and wanting to give everyone the option to shop by curl type at HairKittyKitty.com is helpful to more people than just people who look like me or who have naturally curly hair. It's helpful for anybody who wants to find a curly wig. So I still find a profound amount of utility there, but empathy is not that cut and dry. It isn't about, who fits your camp and only having empathy for those people. It's having an open enough mind to have empathy for people who don't share the same interests you do, who don't share the same skin color as you, who don't vote the same way you do. It's deeper than just your tribe. At least that's my opinion. Thank you for sharing this tea time with me. Here's to you, and I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. Bye, everybody.